What's cracking, everybody? Welcome to the situation part two with me and your boy Gun. Um, Before we get into it, one thing I just remembered I want to say. So, um, ever since I don't know how if it's the same for Gunner, but ever since um I've put out some of these videos on Whack 100 and Big U, I've gotten a lot of support from the black community, right? But then there's these ones that say, well, why don't you catch a fade with Big U? Why don't you catch a fade with Big U? Why is it that if Raza make a video about a black man, we need to get down? But when Big U says he beat up 32 Mexicans, it's all good. But then again, that's why we're doing this show today, right? Go ahead, Gun.
Okay, so part one, man, was on my channel earlier. We just premiered it or just dropped it prior to this one. This is part two, the situation part two. And there is a situation. There's definitely a situation that's brewing. And what we touched on in the first part, basically, just to recap it, was how it looks kind of like Whack 100, not necessarily Big U, and we'll touch on him too, but how Whack 100 thinks he's the Suge Knight, as Dubs likes to call him, Suge Knight 2.0. The driver. I call him the driver. Suge Knight's driver.
Pitas.
Yeah, he's the Pitas. That's Paru. That's the driver.
It's funny.
He's got something going. He's got a situation brewing. The situation, I think, is culminating to an end game, and the end game is a bag. Okay, he's definitely getting his money. He's definitely getting his bag, but he's stepping on a lot of heads to get it. Now, just to piggyback off what Dub said right now, why does it always have to be a situation to escalate to violence? Okay, as a brown people, we're prone to violence just like anyone else. But as grown adults, we're supposed to be stepping away from that and using these platforms to speak about it, talk about it, man. Maybe come to some type of reconciliation or some type of camaraderie here, something that we could do with our voices, because we're all voices. We all got platforms. There's voices being heard and being felt. So why can't we do it? Everything's fine and dandy when you got all these channels speaking over each other and saying this and that and Mexicans this and Mexicans stink and Mexicans just several things that I've heard in the past. Chili con carne and just a lot of different things. But then when a Mexican speaks on something, well, let's just fight. Well, maybe we ain't got time, cuz, right? Maybe we're not trying to go that route. We're trying to be diplomatic here and speak with our voices like grown men, and just call it how we see it. We got our opinions too, and our opinions should be felt. They don't have to be grasped by anyone, but they should be heard. And my opinion on the situation is what Whack 100 is doing is going to cause a lot of chaos and a lot of tension on these streets, not only for the Africano community, but also for Latinos, because we're looked at as minorities. Regardless of what people may think, we're always going to be classified as minorities by certain people. Okay, I don't classify us as minorities. I believe that we're actually the majority, especially in the state of California. But we're always going to be looked at by certain individuals as that, as lower class, as not having as much, the have-nots, not the haves. So we have to stick together as a people. Times have changed where the black and brown community have come together. This is probably the closest we've ever been. There's a lot of truces, old gang wars that have happened. There's a lot of music that's being made. Doors are being opened for each other. But it seems like Whack 100 wants to continue to aggressively push these old politics and these old policies on the streets. He wants to act like he's in prison, having not really been too many places. So the way I see it is not necessarily on the West Coast. I mean, he's got his problems, like we talked about in the first part, where he can't go certain places, and that's neither here nor there. But what one thing that I do wanted to touch on was what's going on with this channel that he's getting on. I call him the Talk Over Each Other channel, right? Yeah. I go to the Clubhouse, and I respect them guys. It's a great platform. I respect them being opinionated and letting people speak. There's a few things you can touch on, but it is what it is. But this guy is there for clout. He's talking over people. He's constantly bashing people. He constantly has people's names in them. I'm talking about Whack 100. And he's little by little starting back this East Coast West Coast rivalry.
Yeah.
I've noticed this, and me and Dubs have talked about it. Both of us have talked about it, and I know a lot of people are not going to see it. They're going to think that I'm maybe stretching my imagination, but that's not the case. There's a lot of people on the East Coast that are not feeling his this narrative he's rocking. Man, how do you feel about it, Dubs? What do you think?
I mean, like I said in the first one, I'm listening to a lot of these East Coast podcasts, and the podcasters are putting it out there. Is there a new East Coast West Coast beef? I think the first time around, the so-called East Coast West Coast beef was more driven by the music industry because it sold records. This right here is driven by an individual. Whack 100 is pushing this whole I don't want to say extortion thing, but this whole, you guys got to check in when you come to California. And I think for those rappers from the West Coast that are trying to, get in the game, the West Coast, we have a swag about us. We think, we are the shit. And unfortunately, some of these cats in the streets in the East Coast ain't feeling it, and they're gonna get wax bullshit is gonna get some people hurt. People that are just trying to get in the industry. I do want to point out the obvious though, real quick. Obviously, like, I just got out of work and out of the shower, and Gunner's dressed up. So the next time, I got you, fool.
What's cracking?
Yeah. But yeah, no, this is a serious thing, man. I don't know if everybody is paying attention to what these East Coast podcasts are talking about, but they have dudes from the streets on the East Coast that are saying like, hey, we're tired of this shit. You know what I mean? And I don't know. Only one person's getting a bag from it.
Yeah. This is one thing I wanted to touch on, man, that I've noticed. Why check in with him? What gives him this authority, this imaginary authority, to be the one to check into? What makes him so special? He can't even be in his neighborhood, so why check into him? He can't even check into his hood.
Well, see, that's like I was saying earlier in part one. I listened to that podcast today again. I didn't check the damn name of it. It's a good podcast. But that dude said on the East Coast, Whack 100 is looked at as Suge 2.0. But in California, we look at him like he's a fool. He's just starting shit. And with everybody and anybody. And I mean, he at this point has overtaken 6ix9ine as the biggest troll there is, period.
Yeah. So this is just a case of real recognizes real and real recognizes real fake.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the narrative he's pushing is definitely going to get people caught up. I wanted to take it a different route too. I wanted to talk about this extortion thing, this Big U thing. Do you think that this is just propaganda? Do you think really deep down inside him and Big U are in some type of collabo to possibly get some money, get that bag, maybe build their platforms? Or do you think that that he really has some animosity towards Big U because Big U poses a threat to the narrative he's rocking?
Okay, so here's the thing. There was a very small part of me that thought they might, create a beef with each other, a fake beef to make money, and grow their platforms. But I don't care what race it is. When you throw a rat jacket on somebody, I mean, everything goes after that. You know what I'm saying? Like, Big U is supported by some real heavy hitters in the black community as far as the 60s. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And for Whack 100 to call Big U what he's calling him, and honestly, look, it's a bad look for both because they've been running around together. They've been on podcasts together. They've done a lot of shit together. They've made money together, and now they're both calling each other rats. Like, Big U said something that, COINTELPRO, that's a federal agent. That's somebody working for the feds, right, to create chaos. Other people are, Big U saying there's paper. I mean, Wax saying there's paperwork on Big U. Like, how long have they known this about each other? And why is it now a problem? That's some strange shit. I think a lot of people, well, for Whack, his own neighborhood, Ben already said he can't come back. But I think a lot of people on both sides are going to be like, wait a minute. How long have they known this about each other? And why have they brought, why has Big U brought Whack around me? And why has, what I'm saying? Like, there's going to be a lot of questions. These street dudes are going to start being like,
Oh
Hold
yeah.
up, what the fuck?
Yeah. Oh yeah. See, that's what people don't, and they misconstrue it, and they don't realize that YouTube is YouTube. The industry is the industry. The streets are the streets, and the streets are
For
what
reals.
counts. The streets and behind those walls are what counts. There are real street guys that are getting a little taste of that bag that want their issue too, and
Hmm.
they're going to start wondering why this guy's bringing this negative energy and this negative attention to their hoods, their barrios, their whatever. And
That
it
affects
starts
money.
getting serious. Yeah, it starts getting serious. When you're making money off their hoods and their territory and whatever it may be. They're going to start to become vested in the situation, and they're going to start asking questions. Now, what I don't like about WAC 100 is how it's all right in some situations to go around people that tell, or it's all right to do things with certain people, but then he has a problem with, say, if Big U was doing that, and no disrespect to Big U, I know Big U's a real one, man. I've never intended disrespect towards Big U. Let's just get that right off the box. Even with the videos that I've done, I was merely just answering a question that I thought was a frivolous statement made by Big U, which I think was misconstrued by WAC 100. Let's just put that out there. WAC 100 on Pyru, no love. Big U respects. Nothing coming for WAC. I will say this. I think that it's funny how he picks and chooses who he goes around. Like this Hassan Campbell guy. I don't know who this guy is, but he's real big on YouTube right now. He's blowing
Yeah.
up off of these tapes, all these recordings or whatever he may have, and that's fine. That's fine. He's doing his thing. That's his people. He can go about his business how he wants to. But I heard a tape where WAC 100 has a big issue with this guy. He called him all kinds of derogatory names, made all kinds of sexual innuendos about him. They did have some type of meeting, some type of podcast together. What changes with WAC 100 that every person that he goes on their podcast or he deals with, does he burn them bridges, or do they really see him for what he is?
Here's the thing. So what Hassan Campbell said is, he said WAC 100 is the devil, right? And he said that he knew, because if you listen to the tape, WAC was basically begging him to come out and see him, right?
Oh, yeah.
WAC wasn't saying, I'll go out to the East Coast. He was begging him to come here. And Hassan Campbell said he believes that he was going to get smoked if he would have came out here. That WAC was going to do. Now, I'm not saying that. I'm saying, listen to the tapes. Hassan Campbell said, if I would have gone out there, I would have got killed. And that would have somehow gave clout to WAC 100. I don't see how that gives him clout, but I don't think WAC would have had him killed, but maybe something would have happened to him. He would have got socked up or something.
Oh, yeah.
And it would have been something else for him to add to his mythology. You know what I mean? Like this dude went against me, look at what happened, and then tax more people from the East Coast. It was probably a ploy. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, definitely wasn't. It backfired on him. It backfired because he got too over familiar with them, and this guy Hassan Campbell was aware. His awareness was up, basically.
Yeah.
And he came prepared, man. From what I heard, he came with 6 or 7 big guys with them. And WAC was in a position where he wasn't going to make that next move, his best move. But this guy WAC, man, he's talked derogatory all the way from the top to the bottom, man. He's talked about Mike Tyson. He's talked about Tupac. He's talked about Nipsey Hussle. This is an ongoing issue with Nipsey Hussle. He's also talked about Kim Kardashian. He's involved somehow, knowing that he's the manager of Ray J. I don't know if you've heard this, but it's something that's big that's going on. They're trying to sweep under the rug. Is that he got tapes, right? According to
he got tapes on everything.
He got the tapes on the AD China Mac fight. He got the tapes on me going to the bathroom earlier. It was, man, he could smell it through the tape. But he's got the tapes, right? But from what I've been hearing, I guess he got some tape about Kim Kardashian Part 2 with Ray J, right? And I guess Kanye West met up with them a few weeks back, and they cleared the air on that and did what they did. Again, man, it's another.
He had a tape on De La Hoya too, supposedly.
Yeah, De La Hoya. I mean, this guy, for some guy that's not able to wiggle like you would think in LA, he sure has the tapes on everyone, man. I don't know if this is just clout chasing. What do you think, man? At the end result, what his agenda is? I mean, he basically disrespected the raza, or he let those around him disrespect the raza. Anyone that knows the politics in prison and anyone that's been around the block, man, like he says he has, should have cut that short quick. He should have been like, let me talk to you over here. And I'm speaking on the Tres situation that's passed months ago.
Yeah.
And since then, I'm sure they've talked. But he could have easily said, hey, let me get at you right here. The other guys from the East Coast that don't know anything about West Coast politics, period, he should have said, hey man, I got this. This is a West Coast thing, and handled it like that correctly. But he continued to let these guys who don't even know anything play into what he was rocking. He's the one that was fueling that fire. You know what I mean? I don't see his end game. What do you think is his end game with all this, bro? What is he trying to accomplish inside the bag?
I think he okay. People aren't gonna like this. This isn't my words, but I remember remember that series called Beef.
Yeah.
Right. And the Cypress Hill dudes were talking, and their DJ Muggs or whatever his damn name is, he said, "Essays run LA." Right. This is what he said. Yeah. And so I think people on the East Coast have an understanding of how strong the Mexicans are out here. And so I think Whack 100 going at the Mexicans the way he did, and then Whack 100 going at Big U the way he did, I think it's an image that he's trying to project that I'm invincible, and all of you that come to California need me. He's getting bags. That's the only thing I can see is he's trying to create this aura of invincibility and strength. But I think what he's done, man, I think the Sharks are circling on him because he's made too many enemies. You know, like they say, friends come and go, but enemies accumulate, and that's a real thing with him. I think the shooters he has around him are his shooters because of his money, but there's always somebody else that's got more money, and if you piss off the wrong guy, your shooters are going to shoot you. You know what I mean? It's always the guys that can get closest to you who are going to touch you.
Oh yeah, and he also threw Suge under the bus after he drove him around in a bus. And that's crazy. Gone. Yeah, and that's crazy because Suge basically was one of the first ones to get him in the industry, to put him on, to get him around them type of people, and he was smart enough and keen enough to watch Suge's every move. And I think just like you call him, man, the Suge 2.0, he's trying to portray that Suge image, but see, Suge really lived that life. For those that got it mixed up, man, Suge has been in and out of the penitentiary his whole career, violation after violation, and we know how that ended up for him. Suge was really about that life. He really ran it like a 4-yard in his studio, and that's period. And I think he's trying to do the same thing, but I don't think he'll ever live up to the expectations of that. Maybe in himself, he looks in the mirror at night and he thinks that he is Suge, and he's even talked bad about Suge, and it's not hard to talk about someone that's never coming home. Mm-hmm. But he's talked about Nip, and Nip's gone. He's talked about Pac, and Pac's gone. He talked about Tyson, and of course, Tyson's still good in the business, but Tyson's old. And then De La Hoya, we know that he's an old man as well. But when it comes to these people that are really out there on the streets, I'm talking about these real OGs. It seems like he always tries to throw water on that flame. He doesn't want that smoke. Certain people, I've heard him talk with big homeboys from his neighborhood, other guys that are well known in the neighborhood. And we're not talking about guys like Big U. I'm talking about guys that are very well known throughout the community. And he hasn't wanted that smoke. Guys like Hassan Campbell. I don't know the man personally, man. Respects to his channel, but just up into this YouTube stuff, I've never really heard his name on the East Coast. So I don't know if he's a big player on the East Coast. I would think not. There's a lot of big heavy hitters out there.
He is right now, but
he might be right now.
I don't know. I from what I've been hearing, the 60s are calling in or whatever they do on Clubhouse, and they're running him out of there. Like he's no longer. When the last things that he put out, what he said is on the videotapes with Nip and his old lady and some other dude, like, damn, you're not supposed to disrespect the dead, man, but what he did was take it to a whole nother level. You know what I mean? Like, hey, and that's what I'm saying, like, them dudes ain't gonna let that shit go. I don't think, but he's not gonna go nowhere near there, especially now that he did Big U.
Yeah, definitely.
Like I said, I think his plan is to just keep taxing these dudes coming from the East Coast, these industry dudes, but these industry dudes do have shooters with them. You know what I mean? And I think it's gonna come to a point where It might be one of them. One dude I heard today call in said straight out that dude will not walk around in New York. Is that true? I don't know. Maybe he'll do a video next week of him walking around New York. But
with 6ix9ine, you know.
I know that they're paying attention now.
Oh yeah, they're aware. Their awareness is up. Their antennas are up, and they've definitely spotted them.
And that's how we caught wind of it.
Yeah.
Because
Oh
we
yeah,
started hearing
definitely.
what they're saying.
And that's why, man, this is not we're not this is not racially based. We're not doing this because we have something to say about the Africana community. I got a lot of respect for the Africana community. I don't see him as a black man. I just see him as a man, and
Yeah.
and I just see him as a man that's basically burying himself and trying to take as many people down with him as he can. Now, I wanted to speak about the raza. The stuff happened with Tres. I was on it quickly, man. I jumped right on it. I defended him. And I defended more so not Tres, but I defended the raza, the words that were
Yeah.
spoken on. I know he came back. They had some back and forth. There were some raps made about it. People talked about it. It was discussed. Do you think it's forgotten about? Do you think the raza has forgotten, or do you think they're just indifferent and it is what it is?
I think for the most part they're indifferent, and I think for the most part, go ahead. I think for the most part the raza, your raza, you know how the raza think.
Yeah,
I think they look more like this fucking dude's a clown.
yeah,
And I
exactly.
think everybody now just looks at him like he is not in the street. It's like us. Look, we're content creators, man.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? He's an entertainer, but he has now stepped into buffoonery. He is a righteous idiot. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I don't think any real dude on the streets looks at that dude as any kind of threat. You know what I mean? And I think the raza, we're gonna make our own way. Everything we do it through hard work. That's how we get down. You know what I mean? And the raza, Tres can rap. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, he's talented.
Can rap. Like all these dudes, they're gonna force their way in, whether they like it or not. You know, it may take a little bit longer, but they're gonna force their way in. We're gonna force our way in on YouTube. You know what I mean? Like the raza are a factor. The thing is one thing about raza channels, I think all of us, and especially in the prison, so-called prison genre, we are constantly trying to reach out.
Yeah.
They don't reach back. And I noticed that a lot of my subscribers are kind of getting frustrated with why do we keep reaching out? And to me, it's because why are we going to keep staying in the same cycle? You know what I mean? That's to me. Because like I said, I have a lot of black subscribers now. Yeah. And I'm getting more. And I think you are too. And I think all of us are. You know what I mean? But back to what you say, I think the raza look at Wack as a super clown.
Yeah. And I hate the fact that we're even sitting here doing something about such clownery, right? But at the same time, it's news and it needs to be heard by everybody. And we're just trying to make people aware of what's going on. As far as the Big U situation and how he factors into it, I believe that Big U at one point in time maybe was trying to chase the bag with Wack, was basically not taking directives from Wack, but he was in like, hey, yeah, maybe I can get a bag with this dude. And I think he's seen him for the clown he is, and he's now fully backed up off him. And I think now that there's a legitimate beef.
And this whole story, this whole knocking 31 people, I think that was a private conversation between the two of them. Yeah, and Wack saw an opportunity to throw him under the bus and throw him out there knowing what would happen.
He knew exactly what would
happen. And as content creators, we have a right to respond to something that we know is false.
Yeah.
That if had it ever happened, everyone would know. I mean, coast to coast would know. Like, damn,
a legendary. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's where it is. Yeah. Exactly. I think this is the longest video that's ever been on my channel, and I'm hoping that I can store this. So I think we should end it here.
Okay, we'll end it here. You know what? Definitely, man, this is the two Wisemen. The third Wiseman is at work, so he couldn't join us, but we will be bringing you more stories, man. We do got a lot more topics. Make sure you tap in. We got a lot of things going on between me, Dubs, and Big Rojo. But definitely tap into part 1, part 2. Let's get it, man. We're right here with Dubs, man. This is Dubs V.
All right, guys. Make sure you tell the ones you love that you love them. I'm out. All right, Gun.
All right. Bang, bang.